E. Miller Branch and Historical Center. The New Miller Branch, as we like to call it, is a 21st century facility for a 21st century public education. And it is truly a milestone because that is a grand, beautiful building that also includes components of our current curriculum. But where we are now is a result of all the steps that we have taken since really the beginning of Howard County Library System back in the 1940s.
Howard County Library System was born out of a strong, close-knit community who recognized the importance of a public education for all citizens. In the 1770s, the Ellicott family, who had enormous respect for books and learning, began one of the first public schools in the area open to all of the community's children. This appreciation for knowledge, coupled with the fact that Howard County was the last county in the state of Maryland to offer free library facilities to its people, was a motivating force that prompted the Women's Civic Club of Ellicott City in the late 1930s to formulate a plan to establish Howard County Public Library. The women of the Civic Club, many of whom were 5th and 6th generation Howard County residents, needed to overcome the obstacles of funding and securing a location. At a Howard County School Board meeting in December of 1939, a request was made to use the portable school building on the grounds of Ellicott City Elementary School. Permission was granted with 3 conditions. First, the Civic Club would supply the coal for heating the building. Second, should the school need the building for school purposes, it would have to be surrendered. And finally, the Boy Scouts who were using the building needed to find suitable quarters elsewhere. Most of the following year was dedicated to raising funds, obtaining donations of books, finding volunteers to staff the library, and transforming the portable school building into a library. On October 11, 1940, the first Howard County Public Library was opened with 3 additional stations at Lisbon High School, Clarksville High School, and West Friendship School. The initial operating budget was approximately $900. The library board requested funds from the county. However, the county commission stated that any financial aid going to the library would necessitate a tax hike, and that would be problematic. Over the next few years, the county's increasing population placed a greater demand on the library. An additional branch was opened in the waiting room of the Welfare Building on Main Street to meet the needs of local businesses and those who lived on the north side of town. The growing population also meant that Ellicott City Elementary School would need the portable school building for classrooms. A search for new quarters found the Bryan Building on Main Street.
It was small, it was narrow, but it had 2 big glass windows in the front. Right?
One on either side.
And as you entered, there was the desk on the right, where the librarian rarely sat down, as I recall.
Right.
And then in the middle of the first room where you entered, there was a card catalog. And those were the only structures in there other than the bookshelves. Bookshelves lining the sides. As you pass through the first room, you go up 2 steps into another small room. They were all small. And I would say that would have the biographies and then the literature fiction in the middle room. And then up another couple steps to a very tiny room, but it was child size. It was with the children's books, so all children's books in the back.
It was dark in there, as I recall.
It was because it was at the bend in the road, and
right,
so
and it has 2 buildings on either side, so there's not a lot of light.
no windows, just from the front windows. But there were always philodendron plants in there. Remember that?
Well, small wonder.
November 30th, 1943, saw the hiring of Howard County Library's first library professional, Lena Baker Burgess. Mrs. Burgess had been a teacher at Ellicott City Elementary School and was the spouse of Lionel Burgess, principal of the Ellicott City Elementary School and a founding member of the Friends of Howard County Library. Meanwhile, the library fostered relationships with many community organizations: the Ellicott City Women's Civic Club, Rotary Club, Kiwanis Club, the PTA, the B&O Railroad Company. The Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts were now constant supporters of the library, both financially and through hours of volunteer work. The community embraced the library as a place to gather as well as borrow books. Bulletin boards were placed in the library for postings of local interest. Exhibits of local art and historical photos were displayed. Additionally, exhibits were on loan from the B&O Railroad Company, and the library news was to be placed weekly in the Ellicott City Times. The collection was also growing to meet the needs of the community. New fiction, nonfiction, reference, and children's books were being purchased routinely. In 1950, the library's collection had grown to over 20,000 items. The relationship between the library and the community was never more apparent than it was in September of 1952, when Hurricane Abel struck the East Coast, causing the Tiber River to flood Main Street in Ellicott City. Businesses were nearly destroyed, and 1/3 of the books in the main library were lost. Amazingly, no one lost his or her life in the flood. Business owners, public servants, and volunteers all assisted in the cleanup, and members of the community volunteered to store books in their homes until repairs had been made. To assist in rebuilding the children's collection, the junior chapter of the American Red Cross donated $1,300. The contributions of materials, time, and labor made it possible for the main library to reopen following 2 months of restoration. Great importance was placed on serving every corner of the county. Library stations were placed not only in schools, but also in many of the remote stores and post offices. However, the community was expanding far from the towns and villages that housed branches of the library. In 1958, a new aspect of customer service was introduced in Howard County. A bookmobile was purchased and began immediately to service customers wherever the need was greatest. Toward the close of the decade, the library was outgrowing its Main Street facility. The library desired a structure of its own and was searching for possible locations to build. Numerous sites were being considered, like the soon-to-be-built Normandy Shopping Center on Route 40 and several tracts of land on Route 144 west of St. John's Lane. However, financially, it wasn't feasible. Meanwhile, a larger transitional building had to be found to accommodate the rise in population and the growing collection. In late 1959, a lease was signed for the first floor of the Howard County Meat Mart on the corner of Frederick Road and St. John's Lane, commonly known as the Freezer Locker.
By the time they got to the Freezer Locker area, we were pulling. I was bringing up my younger sisters by that time, so it would be 3 or 4 of us. The baby, well, she would be, let's see, she was probably 7 or 8, sitting in the American Flyer Red Wagon with all the returning books, and usually it'd be 20 in there, and be wheeling up there, and we get up to the library, and you see the librarians just looking at them, they'd be smiling because they knew who we were, and they would say, "You're going to take this all the way back to Sylvan Lane?" I said, "Well, we have the wagon."
The new decade began with great fortune for the library. A former resident of Howard County donated $60,000 toward the building of a new library. Another anonymous donor had contributed $25,000, and a gift of 2 acres known as Gray Rock Farm on the south side of Route 144 and approximately a half a mile west of St. John's Lane was donated by Charles E. Miller, a leader in the community and a great supporter of the library from its inception. The building committee was given full authority to proceed raising the remainder of the funds necessary to complete the new library. Plans were submitted and accepted by the Board of Trustees, contracts were awarded, and construction began on the library's first permanent building. New books were purchased, new furniture was delivered, and the residents were excited that the library would have a new, larger home. The new Howard County Public Library was dedicated on Saturday, May 5th, 1962. To keep pace with library systems statewide, the Library Board of Trustees determined that new leadership would best accomplish the goals and mission of Howard County Library. May 21st, 1963, Marvin Thomas was chosen as the first director of Howard County Library. The new director's initial task was to evaluate the collection and develop professional library standards that would bring the library in line with providing quality customer service. A card catalog was established employing the proper guidelines. The collection was weeded and recatalogued, and reference services were introduced to better serve a flourishing community. However, funding was limited and the library still depended on donations as well as other approaches to increase the budget.
We were at the very low level in financing in the county, almost an insignificant percentage of the county overall budget. Well, there had to be some demonstration of that we were really hard up for funding. One way of doing it was to let the grass grow. So when I went in the hearing, first thing I heard from Mr. Miller, because it was his property, he would see it, was that you must be really hard up that you can't hire somebody to cut your grass.
Change for the library was slow but constant. Furthermore, a new direction was coming for Howard County. The county was beginning to grow. James Rouse, founder of the Rouse Company and a pioneering real estate developer, had conceived and was designing and developing Columbia, Maryland. Howard County was situated equally between Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, and this new concept in living would lure many to the area. The library recognized that to meet the needs of this evolving population, it had to mirror the county's expansion. The close of the 1960s would see a new branch in the Wild Lake Village Center and a return to a familiar building on Main Street. In the first half of the 1970s, the library would see an increase in the collection and the number of people taking advantage of the library's services. In 1975, Director Thomas noted, "The library system has grown at such a rapid pace since 1963 that it seems as if I'm working for a new system every 4 years, and the next 4 years will probably be more dynamic than the last 12. Meanwhile, Columbia's population was expanding expeditiously. Citizens groups were strongly advocating for a central library in downtown Columbia. Taking notice, the director formed a citizens committee to speed the process of this task. January 1981 saw the Central Library open to the public with advanced features including an automated circulation system, expanded seating, an audiovisual area, and a large meeting room for public use. Development was taking hold in every corner of Howard County. Community branches were opening in Lisbon, Savage, and Elkridge. And 1986 witnessed the renovation of the Charles E. Miller branch, the library's first permanent building. Furthermore, technology was becoming more accessible to the masses. The library began to offer personal computers for public use. A video cassette collection was established. Compact discs were on loan. The library introduced InfoLAN, a standalone multi-user network for public applications. And in 1994, the library connected to the internet for the first time. Mr. Thomas, in the last years of his tenure, accomplished the opening of 3 branches: Savage, Elkridge, and the award-winning East Columbia branch. Mr. Thomas retired in 1996 after 33 years with the library, and Norma Hill became the new director of Howard County Library. Norma Hill built upon the progress made by Mr. Thomas, noting that to reach customers, technology was key. To that end, Howard County Library System received a grant from the Governor's Office of Crime Control Prevention, providing funding for multimedia computers with homework products for teens. And the library's first website went live at www.howa.lib.md.us. Expanding the offerings of the library to the community often needs additional funding. To serve this purpose, the first Evening in the Stacks was held in 1998 at the East Columbia branch. It remains the foremost fundraising event benefiting the library and enables Howard County residents to take an active role in library initiatives. Toward the close of Ms. Hill's term as director, the Glenwood branch was opened, ushering in a new millennium with a state-of-the-art facility to serve western Howard County. The challenge facing Howard County Library System at the turn of the century was how to redefine its role in an age where information was at the fingertips of each member of the community. This task would fall to President and CEO Valerie Gross, hired in 2001. Ms. Gross understood that it was crucial to change the community's perception of a library as a warehouse for books, magazines, and movies, and the image of library professionals as caretakers of that collection. Key to this goal was to reposition the library as a major component of Howard County's strong educational system. The initial step was to announce the A+ Partners in Education initiative between Howard County Library System and Howard County Public School System. This was the first comprehensive partnership of its kind in the country. A+ has become a vital component of Howard County's culture that now includes Howard County Community College. A+ represented the first of many accomplishments in fulfilling a more contemporary mission of Howard County Library System: to deliver high-quality public education for all ages. This mission is achieved through an unparalleled curriculum that comprises 3 pillars: self-directed education, research assistance and instruction, and instructive and enlightening experiences.
We talk about those 3 pillars. They're timeless. It's a timeless vision. And again, it's built upon the past successes, and it's simply a way to firmly establish us as education into the future, regardless of what happens to the book, regardless of what happens to how customers access their own information on Google. Our experts, our instructors, our research specialists, the manner in which they deliver instruction, deliver research assistance will change, but it's timeless, and so that is firmly established.
Howard County Library System serves a community where over 57% of its citizens have a college degree, with the highest of expectations and demands. These requirements are matched every day by a team that understands customer service is part of their job and not an extension of it. Howard County Library System has been ranked first in the nation among the great public library systems by Hennen's American Public Library Ratings, designated a National Star Library System by Library Journal, and ranked in the top 10 for borrowing per capita by American Libraries.
It really is a privilege to be part of this evolving mission and vision that is Howard County Library System at this juncture, and where we aspire to take what we are doing. And I can't think of a better place to work. It is a true privilege to be part of it all, especially with the exceptional staff that we have. It's a team that is simply the best. And part of that team is also the Board of Trustees and the Friends of Howard County Library, the volunteers that we have assisting us, Howard County government that enables it all, our philanthropic partners, and this dynamic community. It's just an exceptional place to be.
By virtue of its compelling team, Howard County Library System strives daily to fulfill its vision: to be a major component of Howard County's strong education system. We advance the economy, enhancing quality of life.